Your weakness has already memorized your excuses. It knows the hour when you usually surrender. It knows which duty you postpone, which promise you break, which discomfort makes you retreat, and which words you use to make that retreat sound reasonable. It does not defeat you by force. It defeats you by familiarity. You have obeyed it before. Therefore, it expects obedience again. Break that expectation. Do not wait for a stronger mood. Do not wait for a better morning. Do not wait until doubt disappears and effort becomes pleasant. Stand up while the weakness is still speaking and perform the duty it told you to avoid. That is where self-discipline begins. Not when you feel powerful. When you prove that feeling does not hold final authority. A man who acts only when he feels strong is not disciplined. He is dependent upon favorable emotion. His effort rises when enthusiasm rises and disappears when enthusiasm falls. He may begin many things with force, but he cannot be trusted through the ordinary middle where real achievement is built. Do not become that man. Your life cannot be governed by emotional weather. Some mornings will be clear. Others will be heavy. Some days confidence will stand beside you. Other days you will have to move without it. The duty must not change merely because the feeling changed. Weakness is a condition. It is not a command. Learn that sentence. Use it. You may feel tired and still complete what must be completed. You may feel afraid and still make the necessary decision. You may feel discouraged and still take one useful step. You may feel uncertain and still keep your word. The feeling can remain. Obedience can belong to you. This is the first victory. Many men misunderstand discipline because they imagine it as constant force. They picture a man who never feels resistance, never becomes tired, never doubts, and never wants comfort. Such a man does not exist. The disciplined man feels resistance. He simply refuses to make resistance his master. He does not waste a morning asking why the work feels difficult. He begins. He does not hold a long conference with discomfort. He gives discomfort no vote. You must reduce the number of votes weakness receives. Every time you ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" you invite mood into a decision that should already be settled. Ask a better question. What did I decide? Then obey the answer. Self-discipline grows when decisions made under clarity remain in force under discomfort. If you decided that you would rise at 6, do not debate the matter at 6. If you decided that a portion of your earnings would be saved, do not reconsider when desire appears. If you decided that the work would be completed before rest, do not let fatigue rewrite the agreement. The decision has already been made. Keep it. A weak man makes a law when he feels inspired and repeals it when he feels uncomfortable. A strong man lets the law stand. This does not mean becoming harsh or foolish. It means becoming dependable. Your own word must begin carrying weight. At present, perhaps it does not. Perhaps you have made so many promises to yourself and broken them so easily that your own mind no longer believes you. You say, "Tomorrow I will begin." The mind has heard it before. You say, "This time I will continue." The mind remembers the abandoned plans. You say, "I will never return to that habit." The mind knows how quickly you have negotiated in the past. Do not become offended by this lack of trust. Earn trust again. Make one clear promise, not 10. 1, make it small enough to obey and serious enough to matter. Then keep it exactly. If you promise to work for 30 minutes, work for 30 minutes. If you promise to save a fixed amount, set it aside before spending. If you promise to complete one page, Complete it before turning elsewhere. This may appear too small for the life you want to change. It is not small. You are rebuilding authority. The task is only the visible act. Behind it, something greater is happening. You are teaching the mind that a decision is no longer a suggestion. Repeat this. A kept promise becomes evidence. Evidence becomes trust. Trust becomes identity. Eventually, you stop seeing yourself as a man who is trying to become disciplined. You begin seeing yourself as a man whose word has consequence. But do not claim that identity too early. Earn it quietly. Let conduct speak before language does. Weak men often announce transformation before transformation has taken root. The announcement gives them a feeling of progress. They receive praise for the decision and lose hunger for the work. Remain silent. Do not seek applause for beginning. Use the energy to continue. The beginning is not the achievement. The repeated return is. Anyone can be serious for one morning. Can you remain serious when the morning becomes ordinary? Anyone can make a great promise under regret. Can you keep a modest promise after regret has faded? That is the test. Discipline is built in the plain hour, the hour without urgency, the hour without witnesses, the hour when nothing dramatic will happen if you surrender. That is precisely why surrender becomes dangerous. One wasted hour does not look like ruin. One broken promise does not look like character. One unnecessary expense does not look like poverty. But repetition changes the meaning. One act becomes a tendency. A tendency becomes a habit. A habit becomes a way of living. Therefore, do not judge a small surrender only by what it costs today. Ask what it teaches. Every act is instruction. When you postpone, you teach delay. When you give in, you teach appetite, that resistance will eventually succeed. When you return immediately, you teach recovery. When you continue under discomfort, you teach command. You are always training something. Train deliberately. Choose the behavior you intend to strengthen. Make it definite. Do not say, I will become more focused. Say, I will begin this task at 7 and remain with it until 8. Do not say, I will become better with money. Say, I will set aside 20 pounds every week before buying anything unnecessary. Do not say, I will become healthier. Say, I will walk for 30 minutes before supper. Vague intention protects weakness. A clear rule exposes it. You either obeyed or you did not. That clarity is useful. Do not fear it. A man cannot correct what he keeps describing vaguely. I am weak. Weak where? I have no discipline. In what behavior? I always fail. At what stage? Be exact. Perhaps you begin well and collapse after 4 days. Perhaps you delay the first action because the task feels too large. Perhaps one mistake makes you abandon the entire effort. Perhaps fatigue in the evening destroys decisions made in the morning. These are not the same problem. Study the actual mechanism. Discipline becomes stronger when you stop fighting a cloud and identify the point of surrender. There is always a sequence. First comes a condition, then a thought, then permission, then action. You feel tired. The thought says you deserve to stop. Permission is granted. The duty is abandoned. You feel uncertain. The thought says you need more preparation. Permission is granted. The beginning is postponed. Interrupt the sequence before permission is given. The first thought is not always truth. Sometimes it is an old servant of comfort presenting itself as wisdom. Question it. Is rest truly required, or am I avoiding difficulty? Do I need more information, or am I afraid to be judged? Would delay improve the decision, or merely remove discomfort for one more day? Ask directly. Weakness survives through confusion. Clarity removes its disguise. Then act before the mind creates another argument. Speed matters at the point of decision. The longer you remain in debate, the more opportunity weakness has to negotiate. When the hour arrives, begin quickly. Do not wait to feel ready. Prepare the first action in advance. Place the papers where they are needed. Arrange the tools. Set out the clothing. Know the first step. Remove the confusion that gives delay a respectable excuse. This is not a minor matter. The beginning often determines the whole effort. A difficult beginning invites retreat. A prepared beginning creates movement. Arrange the conditions. Self-discipline is not only a battle of will, it is also a matter of design. A foolish man places temptation beside him all day and then condemns himself when willpower weakens. A wiser man removes unnecessary temptation. If certain places encourage waste, avoid them. If certain companions weaken resolve, limit their influence. If money is usually spent before it can be saved, set it aside immediately. If difficult work is continually delayed until the evening, move it to the morning. Do not keep entering the same weak position and expecting a different result. Change the position. A general does not prove courage by placing his army on ground that favors the enemy. He chooses the ground carefully. Choose yours. Know the hours when your judgment is strongest. Use them for your most important work. Know the conditions under which you usually surrender. Prepare before they arrive. This is not an admission of defeat. It is evidence that you have begun thinking like a commander. A commander does not merely demand courage from his forces. He arranges them intelligently. Arrange your strength. Protect it from unnecessary waste. Do not spend the best part of the day on trivial matters and then complain that no energy remains for the central work. Give your strength according to importance. The important task should not receive only what lesser demands leave behind. Decide what matters before the day begins. Otherwise, urgency will choose for you. Someone will ask, a minor problem will appear. A small duty will seem easier. Soon the hours are gone, and the central work remains untouched. Then you say you lacked discipline. Perhaps you lack priority. Discipline requires selection. You cannot obey every demand and still govern your life. Something must wait. Something must be refused. Something must receive the first hour. Choose. A man who attempts to discipline everything at once often disciplines nothing. He creates a plan so severe that one imperfect day destroys it. Do not build that way. Begin with a central rule. Once it becomes steady, add another. Strength grows through successful resistance. Give yourself a weight that can be carried correctly. Then increase it. A man who begins training does not place the heaviest load upon himself on the first day. He first teaches the body proper movement. Teach the mind proper obedience. Consistency before intensity. Order before expansion. A moderate rule kept for a year will transform more than an extreme rule kept for a week. Do not chase the feeling of being severe. Build the fact of being reliable. Reliability is discipline made visible over time. It is one of the greatest qualities a man can possess. A talented man may impress. A reliable man can be trusted with weight. Become the second. Let your family trust your word. Let your work trust your return. Let your future trust your present conduct. This kind of trust is not built through one great effort. It is built through ordinary obedience. There will be failures. Expect them, but never use expectation as permission. When you fail, return immediately. Do not turn one missed action into a funeral for the whole plan. The old pattern will say, "You see, nothing has changed." Answer with the next act. Do not argue. Return. A mistake is not the greatest danger. The permission that follows it is. You miss one morning and decide the week is ruined. You spend one amount carelessly and abandon the entire saving plan. You break one rule and return to the old life as though the rule never existed. This is foolish. One poor step does not require another. Correct direction at once. A disciplined man is not one who never stumbles. He is one who shortens the distance between stumbling and returning. Measure that distance. Perhaps before, one failure controlled you for a month. Now let it control an hour. Later, a minute. This is progress. The weakness may still appear. Its authority is shrinking. Do not demand that temptation disappear before you recognize growth. Demand that your response improve. Fear may speak. Did it decide? Comfort may call. Did you obey? Discouragement may enter. Did the duty still receive something? That is the measure. Conduct, not feeling. Some days, discipline will look powerful. You will work with energy. Other days, discipline will look quiet. You will do less, but you will refuse to do nothing. Respect both. A weekday governed honestly is more valuable than a strong day governed by excitement alone. On the weekday, the law proves itself. This does not mean ignoring genuine exhaustion, illness, or grief. Discipline is not blindness. A wise man knows when recovery is required. But recovery must remain under purpose. Rest in order to return. Do not rest in order to escape. Ask what the rest produces. Does it restore clarity? Does it strengthen the next effort? Or does it make return more difficult? The result reveals whether rest was wisdom or avoidance. Do not punish yourself. Govern yourself. Punishment creates temporary severity. Government creates lasting order. There is a difference. Self-discipline should make you more useful, not merely more exhausted. It should give direction to energy, protection to money, weight to speech, reliability to conduct. If your system destroys the instrument, improve the system. You are trying to build a life that can continue, not perform one violent act of will. Long achievement requires rhythm. Work, recovery, return. The return is sacred. Never let comfort convince you that tomorrow will perform the duty you abandoned today. Tomorrow will contain its own resistance. If you give today's weakness to tomorrow, you do not remove the burden. You enlarge it. Do what can honestly be done now. Perhaps the whole task cannot be completed. Complete the next definite portion. Perhaps you cannot give a full hour. Give 20 honest minutes. But do not offer 0 when something is possible. 0 strengthens avoidance. A reduced effort can preserve continuity. This is intelligent discipline. You bend without breaking the chain. The chain matters because continuity changes identity. One day of action proves little. 100 returns create a man. At first, you carry the rule. Later, the rule carries you. The behavior becomes familiar. The beginning requires less argument. The old excuse becomes less convincing. This is how freedom grows. You no longer need to defeat the entire weakness each morning. You have built a road around it. But do not become careless when the road becomes easier. The first progress will tempt you to loosen the standard. You will feel stronger. Pride will say the danger is gone. Boredom will say the rule is no longer necessary. Comfort will ask for one harmless exception. Watch that moment. Many good beginnings are destroyed not by hardship, but by the first taste of success. A man keeps the promise for 10 days and begins believing he can now ignore it safely. He cannot. The rule produced the strength. Do not abandon the cause because the result has begun appearing. Protect the cause. Continue after the excitement leaves. Continue after the first praise. Continue after you begin trusting yourself. Self-discipline is not proven only when you rise from weakness. It is proven when you refuse to become careless after strength returns. And that is the next battle. Weakness will no longer approach only as fatigue, doubt, or fear. It will approach as confidence without caution, progress without vigilance, and the quiet belief that one exception cannot possibly reopen the door you worked so hard to close. And that is where discipline must become watchfulness. The first victory proves that you can command yourself. The second victory proves that you can continue commanding yourself after the struggle no longer feels urgent. This is harder than it appears. When a man is tired of weakness, he becomes serious. When failure is painful, he becomes focused. When consequence is near, he obeys the rule. But once progress begins, the pressure decreases. The mind becomes comfortable. The man feels safer. Then he starts removing the very protections that helped him rise. Do not dismantle the bridge while you are still crossing it. The rule that feels unnecessary may be the reason the danger has become quiet. The habit that now feels ordinary may be the reason your life has begun improving. Respect the cause. Do not become so impressed by the result that you forget what produced it. A man rises early for several weeks. His work improves. His confidence returns. Then he says, I have control now. One late morning will not matter. Perhaps one will not. But the sentence matters. It is the old weakness asking for permission in a new voice. Before, weakness said, you cannot do this. Now it says, you no longer need to do this so carefully. Recognize the change. The enemy has stopped attacking your ability. It is attacking your vigilance. This is why self-discipline requires memory. Remember what disorder cost. Remember how delay weakened trust. Remember how many plans were abandoned after one exception became several. Do not live in fear of the past. Use the past as instruction. A scar should not control the man. It should remind him where carelessness once entered. Let memory protect the standard. There is a dangerous period after every successful beginning. The new habit is strong enough to create results, but not yet strong enough to survive repeated neglect. Protect this period. Do not test the habit unnecessarily. Do not say, let me see whether I can ignore the rule and still remain strong. Why test the roof by removing support? Keep building. Stability comes later. At first, discipline must be guarded more carefully than confidence suggests. The man who has been sober for 10 days should not boast that temptation no longer matters. The man who has saved for 1 month should not celebrate by wasting the next. The man who has worked faithfully for 2 weeks should not assume reliability has become permanent. Character is forming. Do not interrupt the formation. A seed that has broken the ground is alive. It is not yet a tree. Protect the beginning. Water it. Keep the soil clean. Give time permission to strengthen what action started. This does not mean living nervously. It means living accurately. Accuracy prevents pride from making expensive assumptions. You may be stronger than before. Good. Remain disciplined. You may feel more confident. Good. Keep the rule. You may no longer struggle as severely. Good. Do not create a new struggle through carelessness. This is where maturity appears. The immature man needs pain before he obeys. The mature man protects what is good before pain returns. Become mature. Do not wait for relapse to respect the law again. Self-discipline must move from emergency correction into ordinary government. At first, you may use discipline to escape a bad condition. Later, you must use it to preserve a good one. These are different motives. Fear may start the change. Purpose must continue it. A man begins saving because debt frightened him. Good. But once the debt decreases, he must continue because freedom has become valuable. A man begins working because failure humiliated him. Good. But once results improve, he must continue because excellence has become part of his standard. The original pain may fade. The principle must remain. If your discipline depends only upon suffering, improvement will weaken it. Build a better reason. Ask what the rule is creating now, not only what it is helping you escape. What is early rising building? Clarity? Time? Production? What is saving building? Security? Choice? Peace? What is controlled speech building? Trust? Respect? Better relationships? See the positive structure. A man protects a habit more willingly when he understands what the habit is building. This turns discipline from punishment into stewardship. You are no longer saying, I must deny myself because I was weak. You are saying, I protect this because it is creating something valuable. That is a stronger position. Another danger after progress is boredom. The rule becomes familiar. The result becomes slow. Nothing dramatic happens. Then the mind begins looking for excitement. Be careful. Boredom has destroyed many men who could survive hardship. Hardship gave them something to fight. Stability gave them nothing to dramatize. They became careless because order felt plain. Respect the plain season. Most of life is built there. The day when no crisis comes. The hour when the work is simply work. The week when progress is too small to impress anyone. These are not empty periods. They are the workshop of character. The man who requires constant excitement will never build deeply. He will keep changing methods, changing goals, changing rules. Not because the old method failed, because repetition stopped entertaining him. Do not ask discipline to entertain you. Ask it to produce. The field does not become useless because planting feels repetitive. The chisel does not become wrong because the stone still requires another strike. Repetition is not evidence that nothing is happening. It is often the process by which hidden change becomes visible. Continue. You must learn to perform without emotional reward. There will be no applause for most disciplined acts. No one may know that you kept the promise. No one may see that you refused an unnecessary expense. No one may understand the effort required to complete the work. Do it anyway. A discipline that requires witnesses is still partly dependent upon approval. Build where no witness is needed. The private victory is the purest evidence. You acted because the standard belonged to you. This is how discipline becomes character. Character is what remains when attention disappears. A man may perform greatly while watched. What does he do when the room is empty? That answer matters more. Do not build a public image that private conduct cannot support. The gap will eventually create weakness. Keep private standards strong. They become the invisible foundation beneath public results. This is especially important because success creates opportunity for self-deception. The man begins believing the result proves the method can now be ignored. He receives more money and becomes careless with money. He receives recognition and becomes careless with preparation. He becomes trusted and becomes careless with promises. This is how success begins eating its own foundation. Do not let the reward destroy the discipline that earned it. The higher the result, the more carefully the cause must be protected. If greater responsibility comes, strengthen routine. If greater money comes, strengthen financial order. If greater recognition comes, strengthen humility. Success increases pressure even when it reduces struggle. You must become capable of carrying both. There is another form of carelessness. Overconfidence. After one recovery, a man fails, returns, and concludes that because he can recover, failure is no longer dangerous. This is foolish. The ability to recover should create courage. It should not create permission. Do not become casual about falling simply because you know how to rise. A broken bone may heal. That does not make breaking it wise. Protect continuity. Recovery is valuable. Prevention is better. You may say, one exception cannot destroy me. Perhaps not. But exceptions have a way of becoming arguments. The second exception points to the first. The third points to both. Soon the rule feels optional again. This is how old weakness re-enters. Not through open rebellion, through precedent. Guard precedent. When you make an exception, know why. A genuine emergency, illness, a responsibility that could not be avoided, fine. But do not allow convenience to dress itself as necessity. If the exception was justified, return immediately. Do not let one altered day become a new pattern. The disciplined man bends without losing direction. This flexibility is different from weakness. Weakness bends because comfort asks. Wisdom bends because reality requires. Know the difference. You must become honest enough to distinguish them. Honesty is one of the pillars of discipline. A man can deceive others for a time. He cannot deceive consequence. If he says, I had no choice, while knowing he chose comfort, consequence still records the choice. If he says, I needed rest, while knowing he avoided work, the unfinished duty remains. Do not waste intelligence creating false explanations. Use intelligence to expose them. Ask, would I accept this reason from another man? This question reveals much. You may discover that you have one standard for yourself and another for everyone else. You expect others to be dependable while excusing your own inconsistency. You expect others to keep promises while treating yours as flexible. Do not maintain two laws. Hold yourself to the standard you respect. This creates inner order. Another danger after initial progress is excessive expansion. The man becomes excited by improvement. He adds more rules, more goals, more responsibilities. Soon the system becomes too heavy. Then one collapse destroys everything. Do not grow discipline faster than your ability to carry it. Add weight gradually. First, make the beginning reliable. Then increase duration. First, make saving consistent. Then increase the amount. First, create one stable habit. Then connect another. The man who builds too quickly may create impressive strain and weak foundation. Build for permanence. This requires patience with your present capacity. Do not confuse patience with softness. You are still demanding growth. You are simply demanding it in a form that can survive. A bridge is not made stronger by loading it beyond design before construction is complete. Strengthen the supports first. Your supports include sleep, order, clear priorities, a manageable schedule, honest limits. Discipline does not mean pretending these things do not matter. It means arranging them in service of purpose. A man who sleeps poorly through his own carelessness and then condemns himself for weak concentration is creating unnecessary defeat. Correct the cause. A man who accepts every request and then fails his central duty does not only need more willpower, he needs boundaries. A man who keeps no written plan and relies upon memory may not need harsher discipline. He may need clearer structure. Examine where disorder is creating weakness. Not every failure is moral. Some are structural. Fix the structure, but do not use structure language to avoid moral responsibility. If the plan is clear and the environment is prepared, yet you still surrender repeatedly, the issue may be obedience. Face it, you need both. A sound structure and a governed will. This is how discipline becomes intelligent rather than brutal. You are not trying to crush yourself. You are trying to organize yourself. Organization releases strength. Disorder consumes it. A desk filled with confusion wastes attention. A day filled with unchosen obligations wastes energy. A mind filled with unresolved decisions wastes command. Create order. Finish small matters that remain open. Write down what must be done. Decide what will not be done. Clarity reduces mental weight. A man who knows the next duty is less vulnerable to vague avoidance. Make the next action visible. Do not stare at the whole mountain when the next step is enough. Weakness often grows when the task feels too large. The mind says you cannot finish all of this. Perhaps not today. What can you finish? Define it. Then begin. Breaking work into definite portions is not reducing ambition. It is converting ambition into action. A great aim without a daily portion becomes emotional pressure. A daily portion turns the aim into construction. Use this method. It keeps discipline connected to reality. You must also prepare for the days when discouragement returns without obvious cause. Progress is not always felt. You may be improving while feeling unchanged. The work may be accumulating beneath the surface. Do not judge the whole process by one emotional day. Measure evidence. How many promises have been kept? How much work has been completed? How much money has been preserved? How quickly do you return after failure? These are better measures than mood. Feeling may say, nothing is changing. Evidence may say otherwise. Trust evidence. This prevents discouragement from rewriting reality. But be careful not to become obsessed with measurement. Numbers serve discipline. They should not become another master. Measure enough to know whether the cause is working. Then return to the work. Do not spend more time recording progress than creating it. The record should guide, not replace. Another danger is comparing your discipline with another man's. You see someone who appears stronger, more productive, more ordered. Then you feel weak again. Do not use another man's stage to insult your beginning. Study what is useful. Learn from his method. But return to your own standard. The question is not whether you are carrying his load. The question is whether you are carrying yours more faithfully than before. Comparison can either instruct or discourage. Choose instruction. Do not borrow another man's pace without understanding his condition. His responsibilities may differ. His resources may differ. His training may be longer. Build according to truth. But do not use difference as an excuse for laziness. You still have a standard. Keep it. Self-discipline grows when the man stops making every difficulty personal. A hard day is not an insult. A temptation is not proof that you are uniquely weak. Resistance is part of training. Do not dramatize it. The man who says, "Why is this so hard for me?" spends energy on complaint. The man who says, "This is the resistance. What is the next act?" preserves energy for command. Ask the second question. The next act returns you to power. Perhaps it is standing up, opening the paper, walking out of the tempting place, setting the money aside, speaking the necessary no. Discipline becomes real through physical action. Do not remain entirely inside thought. Move the body. Action interrupts emotional delay. This is why beginning quickly matters. A man can think himself into surrender. He can also act himself into momentum. Use movement. The first minute may be difficult. The next may become easier. Do not demand that the whole hour feel pleasant before giving it the first minute. Begin with the minute. Momentum is often hidden behind resistance. You discover it only after starting. This teaches another lesson. The mind cannot always predict how strength will feel after action. Before the duty, you feel weak. After beginning, energy increases. After completion, self-respect increases. Remember this sequence. Weakness tells you only about the discomfort before action. It hides the strength that may appear afterward. Do not let the first feeling describe the whole experience. Enter the work. Find out. This is how evidence defeats excuse. Over time, the disciplined response becomes more familiar. The argument becomes shorter. The beginning becomes quicker. The return becomes natural. This is what you are building. Not a life without resistance. A life where resistance no longer receives long debate. You recognize it. You continue. But even as discipline becomes familiar, another weakness may begin forming beneath success. Rigidity. The man becomes proud of the rule. He begins serving the routine instead of letting the routine serve purpose. He cannot adjust when circumstances change. He treats every alteration as failure. This is not mastery. It is fear of losing control. Discipline must remain firm in principle and flexible in method. The principle may be that the work is completed. The method may change. The principle may be that money is preserved. The amount may adjust during genuine difficulty. The principle may be that the body is trained. The form may change through age, injury, or responsibility. Do not worship form. Protect purpose. This distinction prevents discipline from becoming foolish. A rigid man may keep the schedule while destroying the life the schedule was meant to strengthen. A wise man adjusts the schedule without abandoning the standard. Learn when to hold. Learn when to adjust. This requires judgment. Judgment grows through honest observation. What is the rule producing? More usefulness? More order? More health? More freedom? If the method repeatedly produces exhaustion, disorder, or neglect of high responsibility, examine it. Perhaps the law is right and the method is wrong. Improve the method. Self-discipline should make you more capable of carrying life, not less capable. But do not change the method every time discomfort appears. Give it a fair trial. A weak man changes too soon. A rigid man changes too late. Wisdom changes when evidence becomes clear. Seek that point. And as you learn to guard the good beginning, resist careless exceptions, survive boredom, expand gradually, measure honestly, and remain flexible without surrendering principle, discipline begins moving beyond isolated habits. It begins entering identity. You no longer need one rule for every action because the mind begins asking a larger question before the rule is required. What kind of man am I becoming through this choice? That question opens the next stage, because the strongest discipline is not the discipline that forces a man to perform one duty. It is the discipline that changes what he is willing to tolerate from himself. And once his standard rises, weakness can no longer bargain with him in the same language. And once that standard rises, weakness loses its power to speak as though every decision is still open. The disciplined man no longer asks whether he will obey each time the demand appears. He begins from identity. This is what I do. This is what I refuse. This is what I complete. That is a different form of strength. Rules are still useful. Schedules still matter. Preparation still matters. But beneath all of them, something deeper has formed. The man has stopped seeing discipline as an action he performs occasionally. He has begun seeing it as part of the man he is responsible for becoming. This changes the argument. Weakness says, take the easier road. Identity answers, that road no longer belongs to me. Weakness says, break the promise once. Identity answers, my word is not available for careless use. This is not pride. It is self-respect built through evidence. You did not imagine this standard. You practiced it. You kept the promise. You returned after failure. You worked when feeling was poor. You proved that the lower impulse does not always receive obedience. Now protect what has been built. A higher standard creates a higher responsibility. Once you know what you are capable of, lower conduct becomes more painful. You can no longer say honestly that you do not know better. This can feel severe. Use the severity wisely. Do not turn the new standard into a weapon of hatred against yourself. Turn it into a line. This is beneath the life I am building. Then correct. The disciplined man does not require contempt to govern himself. He requires clarity. Clarity says, this choice weakens me. Clarity does not say, I am permanently weak. Keep the distinction. A man who confuses one poor action with his whole identity may destroy progress through shame. A man who ignores poor action may destroy progress through carelessness. You need responsibility without self-condemnation. That is mature discipline. You see the error. You do not excuse it. You also do not build a throne for it. You correct and return. This ability becomes especially important when the standard begins affecting other areas of life. At first, discipline may have entered through one habit: rising earlier, saving regularly, completing the first task. But one governed area begins exposing the disorder in another. You begin noticing careless speech, unnecessary spending, weak boundaries, broken commitments. This is natural. Order reveals disorder. Do not try to repair everything at once. Expand discipline intelligently. Choose the next area that most strongly affects the whole. Perhaps your time is governed, but your money remains impulsive. Perhaps your work is strong, but your speech is careless. Perhaps your body is trained, but your relationships are neglected. Do not use one strength to hide another weakness. A disciplined man must remain honest about imbalance. There are men who work greatly and call themselves disciplined while their finances remain chaotic. There are men who save carefully while treating people without restraint. There are men who control appetite in one area and indulge pride in another. Discipline is not complete because one visible habit is strong. The goal is self-government. Government must eventually reach the whole territory, but it must spread with order. A nation is not strengthened by issuing 100 laws that no one can enforce. Your life is not strengthened by creating demands beyond your present ability to carry. Add one standard. Make it stable. Then build the next. This patient expansion creates permanence. You are not trying to appear disciplined. You are building a life that functions under command. Appearance rushes. Character builds. Choose character. As discipline enters identity, you must watch for pride. Pride says, I am stronger than other men. Discipline should not produce that conclusion. It should produce gratitude. You know how easily you can weaken. You know how much repetition was required. You know how often you had to return. Let that knowledge keep you humble. The disciplined man is not superior because he feels no temptation. He is responsible because he knows how temptation works. Do not look down upon another man struggling where you have gained strength. You may be weak where he is strong. Use your discipline to become more useful, not more arrogant. Pride is itself a failure of self-government. It allows comparison to control identity. The moment you need another man to be weaker so that you can feel strong, your strength is no longer independent. Do not build that dependence. Compete with a standard, not with every person. Ask whether you are more governed than before, whether your word has more weight, whether the life is becoming more useful. These are the comparisons that matter. A disciplined identity must also survive success. When people begin trusting you, praising you, or placing greater responsibility in your hands, do not let recognition become a new master. Praise can weaken discipline in two ways. It can make a man careless, or it can make him dependent. The careless man says, I have proved myself. The dependent man says, I must keep impressing them. Both lose freedom. Do not work only because people are watching. Do not loosen the standard because they have already applauded. Remain connected to purpose. The work existed before praise. It must remain worthy after praise. Ask, what does the task require? Not what will make me look disciplined. There is a difference. The first produces value. The second produces performance. Performance may appear strong while private character weakens. Protect the private man. He is the real builder. What do you do when no one knows? Do you keep the agreement? Do you finish properly? Do you tell the truth when no reward is attached? Private conduct determines whether public discipline is real. Never let reputation grow larger than character. The gap becomes dangerous. The man begins protecting the image instead of improving the reality. He hides mistakes, avoids correction, resists help. Soon the disciplined appearance becomes another prison. Do not become a prisoner of appearing strong. You are allowed to admit difficulty. You are allowed to revise a method. You are allowed to say, this is not working. Real discipline is loyal to purpose, not to appearance. If the method is weak, improve it. If the load is foolish, reduce it. If help is needed, ask. This is not surrender. It is accurate self-command. The proud man refuses assistance because he believes discipline means doing everything alone. It does not. Discipline means taking responsibility for the result. Sometimes responsibility requires counsel. Sometimes it requires delegation. Sometimes it requires learning from a man who knows more. Do not let independence become isolation. A wise man uses help without handing away command. He listens. He studies. Then he decides. This strengthens judgment. You must also discipline your ambitions. This may sound strange. Ambition is often praised as though more desire always creates more achievement. Not always. Undisciplined ambition can scatter a man across too many aims. He begins one plan, then sees another opportunity, then another. Soon his energy is divided among promises that all require more than he can give. Do not let possibility destroy concentration. Choose. The disciplined man is not only able to do difficult things, he is able to refuse good things that do not serve the central purpose. This refusal requires maturity. At the beginning, you may accept every opportunity because opportunity is rare. Later, opportunity becomes a test of direction. Not every open door is progress. Some doors lead away from the work. Ask what the new commitment will cost. Time, money, attention, peace. Every yes spends something. Do not admire only the possible gain. Count the hidden cost. A disciplined man understands that attention is limited. He protects it. He does not allow every request, idea, and invitation to divide his strength. Concentration creates force. Scattered effort creates fatigue. Become concentrated. This may require saying no to people who do not understand. Say it respectfully. Do not explain for an hour. A clear no often protects many future yeses. The man who cannot refuse becomes owned by demand. He remains busy and calls the business discipline. But business is not always governed action. Sometimes it is avoidance wearing respectable clothes. Ask what the activity is building. Are you moving the central purpose, or are you completing lesser tasks because they are easier to finish? Discipline must include priority. Doing everything is impossible. Doing the right thing first is command. Choose the central duty before the day begins. Give it the strongest available hour. Do not offer purpose only the tired remains. This is how better work is built. And as your discipline expands, you must learn emotional discipline. A man may control his schedule and still be controlled by anger. He may govern money and still be governed by approval. He may train the body and still be unable to endure criticism. These are forms of weakness too. Emotional discipline begins with pause. Do not allow the first feeling to become the final response. Anger rises. Pause. Fear speaks. Examine. Praise arrives. Remain steady. Criticism arrives. Separate truth from insult. A man without pause is easy to control. Anger him and he moves. Flatter him and he moves. Frighten him and he moves. Do not be easy to move. Build space between stimulus and response. In that space, ask what the situation requires, not what the emotion demands. This is self-government at a higher level. You may still feel anger. Discipline does not require numbness. It requires that anger does not choose your words. You may still feel fear. Discipline requires that fear does not choose your direction. You may still enjoy praise. Discipline requires that praise does not choose your character. The feeling can exist. Authority remains with principle. This is the same law that governed the early habit. Now it governs the inner world. The man who learns this becomes difficult to manipulate. He can listen without reacting. He can decide without panic. He can walk away from an insult without feeling that dignity was lost. Restraint is not weakness when restraint is chosen. Sometimes the strongest act is silence. Sometimes it is speech. Discipline decides according to purpose, not impulse. This distinction saves relationships. It saves opportunities. It saves reputation. Many years can be damaged by one uncontrolled minute. Protect the minute. Pause. Breathe. Let the first wave pass. Then speak. This simple practice is a form of power. The same applies to discouragement. Discouragement says the work is pointless because the reward is slow. Do not answer immediately. Measure the causes. Is the work improving? Is the method sound? Are you learning? If yes, continue. If not, correct. Discouragement should not decide before evidence is examined. This is disciplined thinking. You neither ignore emotion nor obey it blindly. You investigate. Accurate thought protects discipline from becoming stubbornness. The stubborn man continues because he refuses to admit error. The disciplined man continues because the purpose remains worthy and the method still has evidence. Know the difference. If the method is failing, change it. Do not confuse changing method with breaking discipline. Discipline is loyalty to the worthy aim, not loyalty to one form. A man may need to alter the hour, the schedule, the amount, or the route. Fine, but the standard of command remains. He does not change because comfort complained once. He changes because reality has spoken repeatedly. This requires judgment. Judgment grows through review. Set times to examine progress. Not every hour. Constant examination can become doubt. Review weekly, monthly. Ask what is working, what is weakening, what must be adjusted. Then decide and return to action. This keeps discipline intelligent. Without review, a man may repeat an ineffective method for years. With constant review, he may never remain long enough for a method to work. Balance. Give the rule a fair trial. Then judge by evidence. Another stage of discipline is learning to carry responsibility without resentment. As you become reliable, more people may depend upon you. This can become heavy. Do not allow reliability to become self-abandonment. Set limits. You are not required to accept every burden because you are capable. Capability creates options. It does not create obligation to carry everything. Choose duties according to principle. Some responsibilities belong to you. Carry them fully. Others belong to people who have learned that you will rescue them. Be careful. Rescue can weaken both men. If you constantly protect another person from the consequences of disorder, you may prevent his discipline from developing. Help where help creates strength. Do not help in a way that creates permanent dependence. This is a disciplined form of kindness. Kindness needs judgment. Without judgment, generosity becomes waste. Without generosity, discipline can become cold. You need both. Strength with humanity. Order with compassion. A disciplined man should not become hard merely because he has learned to deny himself. Remember how difficult the beginning was. Let that memory create patience, but do not let patience become permission. You can understand struggle and still require responsibility. This is leadership. The man who governs himself becomes capable of helping others govern themselves. Not by controlling them, by example, by clear expectations, by truth. Your life becomes evidence that weakness can be trained. Do not preach constantly. Demonstrate. Let people see that you return, that you keep your word, that you can admit failure without collapse. Character teaches quietly. And the stronger this character becomes, the more you must guard against one final distortion. Discipline can become so connected to achievement that a man forgets why he wanted achievement at all. He works, saves, trains, controls, but never asks whether the life being built is worthy. He becomes efficient at becoming empty. Do not let discipline become machinery without meaning. Purpose must remain above system. The system serves life. Life does not exist merely to serve the system. Ask what your discipline is creating in the man. More freedom, more usefulness, more integrity, more capacity to love, lead, and serve? If not, examine the aim. You may be climbing the wrong wall with excellent technique. Discipline cannot save a false purpose. It can only help you reach it faster. Choose the aim carefully. Then let discipline serve it fully. This is why the highest stage of discipline is not harshness. It is alignment. The mind, the word, the habit, the money, the time, and the purpose begin moving in one direction. There is less internal conflict, less negotiation, less waste. The man becomes whole, not perfect. Whole. His conduct supports his values. His routine supports his aim. His strength supports something worthy. This is the man who can carry greater responsibility. But before discipline reaches that complete alignment, there is one final test. Life will interrupt the system. Illness may come. Loss may come. A duty may suddenly become heavier. The schedule may break. The environment may change. Then the man must discover whether his discipline belonged only to the routine or whether it has entered character deeply enough to survive when the routine is no longer available. That is the next stage. Not discipline under order. Discipline under disruption. And disruption reveals whether discipline was only a routine or whether it has become character. When conditions are orderly, many men appear strong. The hour is fixed. The work is prepared. The road is familiar. Then life changes the arrangement. Illness enters. A loss arrives. A responsibility grows heavier. The schedule that once protected discipline no longer fits the condition. Now the man is tested. Will he abandon the principle because the method has been disturbed? Or will he adjust the method and preserve the principle? This is mature self-command. A weak man says, "Since I cannot do everything as before, I will do nothing." A disciplined man asks, "What can still be governed? Perhaps the full hour is impossible. Give 20 honest minutes. Perhaps the old routine cannot continue. Create a temporary one. Perhaps strength is limited. Protect continuity with a smaller act. Do not worship the form. Protect the direction." Discipline under disruption may look less impressive, but it often requires greater strength. You are no longer being carried by familiarity. You must think, adapt, and choose again without surrendering the standard. This is where flexibility becomes power. The rigid man breaks when the plan breaks. The disciplined man bends and continues. He knows that reducing the load is not the same as abandoning the journey. He knows that rest during illness is not weakness when rest serves recovery. He knows that one changed season does not erase the man built through years of obedience. Trust the deeper structure, but do not become careless. Temporary adjustment must remain temporary. When the difficulty passes, return fully. Weakness may use disruption to reopen old habits. It will say, the system is already broken. Do not believe it. A broken schedule is not a broken character. Rebuild the schedule. The power lies in return. Return after interruption. Return after grief. Return after fatigue. Return without waiting for a perfect feeling. This ability makes discipline durable. Life cannot always be arranged around your preferences. Therefore, your principles must become strong enough to travel through changing conditions. Carry them with you. Carry honesty when pressure rises. Carry restraint when anger appears. Carry purpose when confusion enters. Carry your word when convenience asks for escape. This is the final form of self-discipline. Not a severe life, a governed life, a life in which feeling has a voice but not the throne, a life in which comfort is enjoyed but not obeyed blindly, a life in which weakness can appear without deciding the future. You may never reach a point where resistance disappears entirely. Good. You no longer need resistance to disappear. You have learned how to act while it remains. That is strength. So when the weak hour arrives again, do not fear it. Recognize it. It is another chance to strengthen authority. Do not ask whether you feel powerful. Ask what the next right action is. Then take it. Because self-discipline is not proven by the days when life cooperates. It is proven when life becomes difficult, the old weakness returns, and you still refuse to surrender command. That is the man you have been building. Keep building him.